If you would like to support the Guy Jeans podcast, please write a review on iTunes or Google Reviews and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. If you have questions, suggestions, advertising inquiries, or would like to be a guest on the podcast, please email us at guyjeanspodcast@gmail.com.
I'm Bart Hall with a different kind of commercial. Yes, I'm going to talk about the Bart Hall Show March 29th to April 2nd at the Long Beach Convention Center. It's called the granddaddy of them all for a reason. But in 1946, when my parents, Fred and Lois Hall, decided to produce an outdoor recreation event, there were no guidelines. So they just started celebrating what they loved, and that continues to this day. We produce these shows because we share the passion for outdoor recreation that everyone that comes to our events shares with us. People that come to our shows are good people, and the world needs more of them. Yes, we have tons of boats, the best fishing tackle, great deals at exotic hunting and fishing destinations. But the most important thing is that we will provide a full day of outdoor recreation family fun. Make new family memories March 29th to April 2nd at the Long Beach Convention Center. Details at hallshows.com. That's hallshows.com.
It's a Guy Jeans podcast.
Hi there, my name is Guy Jeans, and I started this podcast to talk to interesting and motivating people living and manifesting their passions and ambitions into reality. I've always said, if you're passionate and love what you do, you will be successful. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Guy Jeans, and today's guest is 13-time World Freestyle Frisbee Champion. Pretty incredible. He's a keynote speaker. He's an entrepreneur. He worked at Patagonia for 25 years. He's writing a book. And we're going to learn all about my buddy, Chipper Bro. And without further ado, here he is. Chipper, how you doing?
Wonderful. Good morning, Guy.
What's been happening, man? We have so much to talk about. We have your surf class, Patagonia, your public speaking now, all that kind of stuff. But first thing I want to talk about with you is how we met.
Well, that's super cool, Guy. I've got some great memories of that, going way back to the Papanata days and Driftwood Lane and Hanging Pier Pont style.
Yeah.
We were definitely big fans of you and your band, but becoming friends became even better.
You know, I think it was, huh? Right there, was it in Pierpont? Because we lived, a few houses away.
Yeah, right down the street from us. You lived closer to the beach than us, and you had that cute little Pierpont bungalow that was 1970s style. And boy, you guys lived the brand.
a lot of pre-parties and after parties there. I'm not sure all the neighbors really liked me very much, but oh my gosh.
So much of the innocence of how cool it was back then, and it was just a neat time. And I remember the people coming over, and the Harleys would come over and meet people, and surfers and vagabonds and dirtbags and musicians, and just an array of amazing people. And Kelly and I was just starting my family, and we thought you guys were starting a revolution.
Right. It was so fun, man, living there. Oh my God, just surfing every day and just the beach lifestyle there. Oh my God, it was so great. What a great place to raise your kids, huh?
It really was, and we just had two at that time living down there at 1043 Driftwood. And
yeah,
it was perfect for that because I think my footsteps were like 60 steps from the beach. So wake up in the morning, take the kids down, surf check, and getting them in the water early. They just became really cool ocean and beach loving kids.
I remember the stroller going by so many times, man, when I play. So great.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, you guys had a few roommates, but did you ever have some of the Papanata gang live with you, like Bobby or Alan or Bruce? Were they ever your roommates?
No, my brother Josh was there, and then had a couple different other roommates move in and out of there. But all the band guys, well, they lived up the street or down the street or whatever, downtown Ventura.
Yeah.
But they were all over
Yeah,
the
I
place.
think your horn player was Alan, and he lived on our street, I think.
Alan lived really close to you, and then Jeff Harris, the trombone player, he lived at the top of the street on Monmouth.
Yeah, that's right.
Monmouth and Driftwood there. Such a cool little vibe down there for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And just for funsies, how did you get to Pierpont? What brought you there, Guy?
Oh man, I was living on the avenue, and I ended up I was renting a room over there. I was on Monmouth at the time, and I was living on the avenue. Then I moved to Monmouth, which is the top of Pierpont Street there, the Driftwood area, and then that house down where we ended up living came up for rent, man, and that's how we ended up moving in there. And it wasn't on my credit; it was on another friend of mine's credit, who was a sheriff, and we actually got in because of him.
I love it. It's who you know, baby.
Dude, a crazy story, man. I don't know if I ever told you this, but this was a crazy story, man. I was just moving into that house, right? And it had a little like skylight, and I had backed up my truck into the driveway. And, we were like 3 houses away from the sand living there.
Yeah.
And I had just cut one of the dowels. I was just moving into the house, like moving clothes and stuff into the house. And I had cut this dowel to hang my clothes, And so it was about 5-6 foot piece of, round wood to hang your clothes on. And I hadn't put it in. I hadn't put it in the closet yet. And my friend was all, "Hey man, I heard something out there in the driveway or something." And I really? And it was dark. It was nighttime. And I pulled myself up to the skylight and looked out, and there was the back of my camper shell was open, man. And I'm like, I think somebody's in the back of my truck. And I grabbed that dowel. I just in my surf trunks, no shirt, no shoes or anything. Grabbed
long blonde hair.
Yeah, ran out there, and there was this dude in the back of my truck, man. He was trying to steal my stereo. And I'm like, this was like the second time somebody was trying to steal my stereo, dude.
Shit.
And the first guy I let go, and this guy, I was like, no, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do something about this, And so I said, "Hey man, the cops are coming. Just stay in the back of my truck." And he's all, "No man, I'm getting out." I'm like, "Nope, you're gonna." And I had the dowel on his head, I'm like, "Just stay in there, dude." And he did a real quick move, and I don't mean to be violent or anything, but I had never really hurt somebody like, or like, crack somebody with a weapon or anything. But this guy came out, and he came at me and fell on the ground. And
oh my gosh! I
took that dowel and just cracked him on the head, like crack. And then he I'm all, "Stay down, dude." And he came after me again. I'm all crack on his head again. And I'm like, "Just stay down." And then he grabbed. This is my first introduction into the house. And the next thing I know, he grabs my legs, and then we're rolling around on the ground and fighting, and oh my God, and we're going at it, And when you see red, I don't know if you've ever seen red, where you don't feel or anything. You don't feel nothing, when you're in that adrenaline rush. I never really felt that it was crazy adrenaline. And he took off running, towards the beach. And he ran down to the end of the lane there and went up the stairs, and I followed him, and he was running, like when you're running in a bad dream, when you're running and somebody's chasing you.
Yeah.
He was the guy that was getting chased, and I was the guy that was chasing him because I ran in the sand. I ran in the sand every day, so he was like struggling to run in the sand, and I caught up to him and tackled him, and I don't know, man, I got him into this crazy headlock, and finally he gave up, and dude, I got him, and he had gloves. He was like a professional thief, man, and he had gloves on and hood and all this kind of stuff,
Whoa.
And luckily he was smaller than me. Anyway, I got him in headlock, walked him all the way up to the top of the, where Monmouth is, to where my friend, who's this giant monster of a man, and I'm like, Jim, and I yell, and I'm like, Jim, come out. And he comes out in his boxer shorts, and he's this big old dude. He's like, what's up, guy? And I'm like, dude, hold this guy, man. And he just broke his arm. I'm like, I got him. And then, 2 cop cars came, and they're all, is this the guy? And I'm like, yeah, he just broke into my truck. And, we got him. And they handcuffed him and took him off to jail,
Freaking A. That is gnarly.
And what was crazy was my roommate, that's coming back to my roommate worked in the jail. And I called him up. I'm all, hey, dude, they're bringing this dude who just broke into my truck. And he's finished, my friend. So he ended up getting deported back to Mexico, this kid.
Wow.
Yeah,
man.
But that was my introduction to that house, man.
Right. And you talk about that adrenaline, it's like weird when you get to that red state. You're a peaceful guy and stuff, but man, all of us are, what would you do in that situation? And, I don't know, I'm kind of a non-practicing Buddhist, but find myself at times going, oh, fuck him up, Don't do that.
Yeah. And dude, when I came down from that, I was like all bloody. My knuckles were all bloody, my knees, my feet. I was just like, and I came down and I was just like, I almost, was like, man, I messed that dude up, and I felt bad about it. It was like the adrenaline came down, and then my buddy, the cops, all, don't worry about it. I live for that stuff, man. You did a good job.
Oh my gosh! With the beach so close, did you surf out front? Were you surfing?
Yeah, man. I love that little break right there. When it got good off that jetty, that left, and then go on the other side and fish the right. That was fun.
Yeah, wasn't that fun? Kind of had a little magic of each season,
Oh man.
When little springtime or summer swells late, and of course, who's still there is John Carmen and Alicia.
Uh-huh.
The Carmen lived at the end, and they played volleyball and stuff. But anyways, it's such a great hood down there. You
taught my we're going to talk about surfclass.com here in a bit, but you taught my cousins years ago how to surf. They were from Missouri, and you did a little clinic for them down on the beach in the bear pond there, and that was cool, man. And they were all stoked. They still talk about that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about. I want to definitely talk about surf class, but I want to kind of go from the beginning and, how you were. Well, you were 13-time World Frisbee Freestyle champion, which is crazy to think about. Which is amazing, right? And I've seen you in action. I've seen you practicing, of course, on the beach, but in front of your house, and I've seen you open up for my band a couple times doing that.
I know. Hell yeah, man.
Remember that?
An honor.
And I'm doing all your tricks with your buddy, and people have no idea how hard that is and how long it takes to probably master those tricks and stuff like that. But talk to me a little bit about how you even got into freestyle Frisbee.
Like we were talking about earlier, some of those out of the 70s was such a great time, and you could really just kind of this carefree, and the 70s was cool. And then about 79 and 80, you probably remember the term alternative sports.
Yeah.
And, there was the traditional sports of basketball, baseball, football, and those type of high school sports even that were organized. Yeah, for me personally, I was kind of always second string. I love volleyball, but I just couldn't, I just wasn't that athlete, except when I found surfing at 10 years old, I was like, this is what I really like. And of course, that was like 1978, and localism was hot, and, My Beach, My Wave was popular, and pro surfing hadn't even really been born yet. And there was this was the beginning of the birth of extreme for these alternative sports. And in that, when the surf was flat, I'd play Frisbee out. I grew up in Santa Barbara, and my dad at an early age taught me that, Chipper, you were born into a royalty. You have the mountains in the ocean. Go enjoy it. And we were a divorced family. My mom was amazing mom, and she, my two sisters, and we had to be at home by 5:00 and have dinner on the table. And she taught me so much about love and family and sticking together, even in a separated situation. She just came to the table with love. My dad was a little more flamboyant, kind of party guy, having fun. But again, we're kind of a poor family. So that royalty, I was like, wow, this is a beautiful place to live. And surfing kicked in. And then again, when the surf was flat, I'd play Frisbee. And back then, doing a behind the back catch, doing an under the leg catch. Most people had kind of long hair back then, and you'd spin around, your hair would spin. And, they called it freestyle. And I felt that connection to being free. Yeah. And I love having kind of my own style. I wasn't, again, beating to the normal drum. And so I found out there were freestyle Frisbee tournaments. I was like, wow, you can go and do these tricks, catch it behind your back. I thought I was, I could enter. I always had a competitive edge to myself. And so I realized that you had to have a partner in it. And so I found a partner, Jay Hinkle, my first partner out of Santa Barbara, my high school buddy, who we just played Frisbee last Sunday together. 45 years of frickin' jamming Frisbees. And so Jay and I started going to some tournaments. And at the time, there were 35 tournaments across the United States that you could actually win money at. Nice. And if you did well at enough tournaments, I think it was like 5 tournaments, and you had to make the semifinals, you could get an invitation to the national championships, where you could actually win some good money. So I was putting this together thinking, man, if I could get to a tournament, do some tricks, and maybe I could pay my rent. Which I lived in a beach house with some friends down on Butterfly Beach in Montecito, and it was 7 roommates. We called it the Hotel California, and it was a party house for us. And so every day I got to just work on my craft of learning how to play Frisbee. And we went to some of those tournaments. And Guy, it was pretty funny because when we got started, straight up, I didn't make it out of the prelims the first couple tournaments. I was like, dang. And I realized, wow, what does it take to get to that next level of even being a semifinalist, let alone a finalist, which there was probably 70 teams back then. Wow. And they took process of elimination with 10 teams in the final. So, they eliminated a lot of teams. Yeah. So we ended up, I just kept practicing and, getting disqualified or, just wasn't good enough. And I just kept practicing. And I was playing with a guy named Joey Hudocklin at the time, and he had been a real seasoned player. I was practicing with him, I should say. And Jay and I would practice with Joey. And then one day Joey asked me, he says, hey, Chipper, I'm going to play in 2 tournaments next year, and we could maybe qualify for the Nationals. And he was a really good player, like top. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'll do that.
What an honor. Yeah.
It was. And so at the time, kind of like in a band, all of a sudden you mix partners up, and this band is different, and musicians change. And so I would go hang out with Joey, and we start doing our stuff. And long story short, we ended up making it to the World Frisbee Championships in 1982. And we got up to that day, and I remember practicing our routine. And at one point, we even went down to Palm Springs to practice in heat, where it would be a lot hotter. And in some of these tournaments, it always wasn't the beautiful climate of Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
And so we practiced, and so we practiced this particular routine that took months and months of practice. And, here I am, as a busboy and a waiter, and trying to make ends meet, paying my rent back then, living on that beach, which I might have mentioned. I had to come up with $200 a month was my rent. So I'm like, I can do this. So I remember doing our routine, and Guy, it was so neat. Imagine this. Alternative sports were so hot that 10,000 people paid $5 to get in to watch the World Frisbee Championships.
Oh, my God.
In a stadium, and this one was in Santa Cruz. It was Cabrillo Stadium. And it was so cool to walk into that stadium. It's like, whoa. We're going to go do our thing now. And, there's in freestyle, you're judged on difficulty, presentation, execution, artistic impression. There's like 9 judges that judge you. And you're kind of like ice skating, you get scores and accumulated and tabulated. And one of the worst things to do is to drop it, And so you're going for the hardest move ever, and the wind picks up.
Damn it.
Okay, let's try this one. And hopefully, and do you improvise at that moment and not go for it? Or do you just suck it up and be, I'm going to do it?
Yeah.
And so I remember hearing the announcement at that tournament, and they said, ladies and gentlemen, in 5th place was this team, in 4th place, this team, in 3rd place. Remember, there were 10 teams, and they went from 8th place down, and they go, and in 2nd place, and they named this team, and I turned to Joe, I'm like, dude, we didn't even get announced. I thought we did pretty good, but I'm like, wow, okay, we must have taken 10th. And it was the coolest thing. They just said, and ladies and gentlemen, our new world champions is Chipper Bro and Joey.
Whoa.
And it was pretty neat. And that really set something to me, though, Guy, about setting goals.
Right.
I think it was kind of neat when I got crowned and we had the medal and I got the money and I got all these prizes and definitely at the top of the heap.
Yeah.
That was a great experience, and that changed things a lot, which it began to get the sponsorship started coming in. And back then, again, alternative sports was a hot commodity.
Yeah.
And I got scooped up by Anheuser-Busch.
Oh, yeah.
The brand Bud Light. And my partner, Joey, came along with me, and our captain was Crazy John Brooks, which I'll see him this weekend. I'm going to his house to have some 3 days of fun.
Good times.
Good times with old buddies, we're still going. And that Bud Light Frisbee team, we ended up, I ended up touring the world for, basically 9 straight years. And we toured different countries. We did 21 city tours in about 10, 15 states across the country.
Unbelievable.
We were busy up to 200 days a year.
Wow.
And we ended up performing from chili cookouts in Texas to opening up for Cheap Trick, Molly Hatchet, Toto, Jan and Dean, Beach Boys, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Santana, and Papanata. It's true.
I love it. I know. I remember you telling me about that. I remember you telling me about the Stevie Ray Vaughan and opening for him with your Frisbee tricks and stuff like that. What was that like?
Yeah.
Being in front of all those people like that.
It was neat. I really, Guy, at an early age, I learned when my mom threw me in the Santa Barbara Fiesta Parade. I was 8 years old, and I found this time in my life where I was really nervous to go in the parade and with a little sombrero on, and she says, no, just go up the parade, and at the end there's a Carnation ice cream truck. You'll get some ice cream, but just wave to people and smile. And I started to go in the parade around the big fiesta floats and the horses, piñatas, and all these things. And well, it was so cool. I began to wave at the people, and I saw that they would just wave back. And then I did a big wave, and I did a big smile, and it was like a magician. The whole row waved and smiled. Yeah. And I really went and acted like, I'd just seen the cartoon Fantasia with Mickey Mouse. Uh-huh. And he actually takes that broom and goes around, and he made magic with that broom. And I ended up just making people smile the whole way. And so when you talk about when I got in front of 40, 50, 60, 80, 90,000 people regularly, it became, I lived for it. I was super comfortable. Now, I was not that comfortable if I did not have a Frisbee in my hand. I'm not that talented.
So would you guys be like, backstage, and then there's these giant audiences, and you guys are getting prepped, like, okay, here we go, man. And then they announce you guys, and you guys would run out on the stage and then do your thing. For how long would you guys be out there for?
Yeah, we had choreographed routines, 5 minutes. I think you can Google Bud Light Frisbee team, Stevie Ray Vaughan, South Padre Island, something like that. You're going to see this one particular video.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, we prep backstage, and then we very well polished. At this point in our careers, we're high level freestylers, but now put yourself in a very limited space.
Right. I'm going to say the
monitors and drums and speakers and all the cords.
Oh, yeah.
And, they don't move anything for us.
Yeah.
And so we developed this routine that was 5 minutes long. And it's funny when you first get up there and they're like, so this one show with Stevie Ray Vaughan. By the way, I toured on our team. I mentioned Crazy John Brooks.
Yeah.
Which Joey became the world's greatest freestyler to this day. And Crazy John went on to become an overall Hall of Fame Frisbee player with 7-time world disc golf champion.
Whoa.
And he held the world distance record for many, many years. And he would throw distance at our demos and set the thing up, and he'd go way out past 70,000 people, and we would set a target up onto the stage, and my time to get on the microphone. Oh. And Guy, you know how that is when you can talk into that many watts. It's like, it's like,
that's crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen, next up, Crazy John Brooks from Ventura, California. Yeah. And so I'd go, ready, cheer him on, throw the disc, Crazy. So he'd throw this disc all the way over. This one time, open up for Stevie, the SOB frickin' hit the target, which was over 222 yards.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, 666 feet. He just rocked it. And to hear that many people, which most people didn't really know what was going on, when I'm like, the Frisbee's up. By the time they looked up, it was gone. It wasn't like it floated there. It was a trajectory missile. So anyways, here's the fun part. So Crazy makes it back, and they're getting ready, and we'd been really good friends with Stevie and the band and all the guys. Super fun. Chilly chill with dinners and drinks and fun. Stevie comes out of his trailer, and they're like, ladies and gentlemen, next up, Stevie Ray Vaughan. He's coming through our little huddle, and he's coming through, and he's like, did Crazy throw yet? They're like, yeah, he just did. He's like, God damn it. I wanted to see that. Can he do it again?
No way.
But you can't. That was
Oh my gosh.
So anyways, he wanted to have a replay later on. Kind of a funny thing too, Guy. I was so excited when that hit the record and the Frisbee landed on the stage, and I was up there and I got the Frisbee, and in my emotion and excitement, I threw the Frisbee back into the crowd like, yay! And Crazy made it back. He's like, did you get my Frisbee? Oh, shit.
Oh no.
So after the concert was over, we just hang out for a bit, let the crowds bleed out. We got VIP anyway, watching everything go out. And this guy backstage comes up to the back gate. Excuse me, sir. I'm like, yeah? I'm like, I got your Frisbee.
No way.
I caught it. Do you want it back? I'm
Aw.
like, dude, you're kidding me.
How
And
cool
I
is
was
that?
all, yeah, I actually said, come backstage with me because there's all these catered food still, and he got to hang with Stevie and everybody. I was so happy I got the Frisbee back. I'm all crazy. Here's the Frisbee back.
Isn't that amazing?
But-
Going from just playing on the beach, having fun, and then entering a tournament and then not doing so well, and then keep practicing, not giving up, and then ending up on stage with Stevie Ray Vaughan and touring the world and just having a blast, all because of you wanted to play with the Frisbee. Unbelievable.
Well,
Great story.
It is, and I just want to add one more, and it's real quick, but
Yeah.
we got to head over. Is that okay, Guy?
Oh, you get plenty of time, man. You go for it.
Super cool. I just wanted to roll this one out. So we get back from the tours, and we hit it was like September or something of 86. And their tours were over, and we got home and the phone rang, and Crazy, our captain, picked up the phone and said, and we just finished touring with Jan and Dean. Jan and Dean 60s rock band, right?
Yeah.
Little Old Lady from Pasadena and Dead Man's Curve and a few hits they had. But they hung up and they said, Jan and Dean just asked us to go on tour with them. I was like, where? They said, China.
Whoa.
I was like, what? They said, yeah, it's the first American rock and roll tour in China as a cultural exchange. And they invited Jan and Dean, and they invited us. And
Wow.
so, long story short, this is like, I just love to talk to you more about this another time. But as we got into Beijing, Jan and Dean were really big, by the way. Like China people liked them. They were about 20 years behind in music, for reals. And so our first gig was in Beijing, and so many intricacies happened in this with being in front of the military. They're watching a cultural show that's, in communist China. Here's Americans here doing this Frisbee and Jan and Dean show and all these things. They hired dancers, and so there's so much to that, but I'm just going to roll over to when we got to Shanghai. We were in there, and Crazy John decides, we got to fire these audiences up because it's the first concert these people, kids, students, whoever could afford that. I think $30 was kind of a lot to go to this concert. And I think they had like 25,000 people showed up. And Crazy fires up the crowd. He's like, yeah, and doing these things, and he runs up into the crowd during this Jan and Dean jam, and he runs into the crowd, runs into the audience, catches eye with this boy. I'm about 8 feet away watching. Crazy John sticks his right hand out where that boy stuck his right hand out, and they grab hands. And Crazy pulled that boy out of his seat and started dancing because it was a perfect moment,
Uh-huh.
right? It was like, oh my gosh, Crazy John, by the way, is an exceptional entertainer. And he could dance and sing and move, and he's moving around, and the kid starts dancing. It was the coolest thing. Completely offbeat, starts dancing like Saturday Night Fever.
Classic.
So in this moment of amazement, the boy is taken by security guards and taken off the stage area where he was, on the aisle area, I mean, and took him away, and ended up arresting him and putting him in jail.
Whoa.
And the people he was with protested underground because they took one of the students from Shanghai University pro-democracy movement
Uh-huh.
in 1987.
Wow. What happened to him?
86. So he gets arrested and goes, well, there is a part in here that's, there's a lot to talk about with this particular part. Crazy John did witness him getting beat up.
Oh.
And kicked and stuff with these guys in the big robes and not robes, blue jacket-like things. They look like Dickie jackets, but oversized.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, so here's what happened, though. That happened, and then students started to underground protest. And we got to the next city from Shanghai. We're on tour, going down with like 7-city tour, working our way to Hong Kong, which is going to be a couple weeks later. We're working our way down. The next night, what do? Blow the roof off. Crazy John's going off. We got actually tied we found a rope that we could tie the guitarist's waist to and let him swing out over the audience playing guitar. We're thinking of because this is Crazy's ideas, by the way. He just, I got an idea. Because our routine was only like 10 minutes out of this full 24-hour day.
Uh-huh. Got to do something.
So, got to do something. That's when we hung with all these bands and stuff and helped with load in, load out. This helped the execution of the show, you know.
Yeah.
And so, get to the next town. We finally get down to Hong Kong, and the director, which we were with Lorimar Pictures, HBO, and these other peeps, there's about 35 people in our entourage. And we ended up getting to Hong Kong, and the newspapers were out because now it's finally freedom of press. Each town we went to, they're like, hey, any reviews? Did we hear anything? How was the show? Kind of looking to see if they made the press. Zero. No freedom of press. Got to Hong Kong, and the director said, everybody, when we get into this hotel, there's going to be reporters and people, and we have an emergency press conference with the band. And it's BBC, NBC, ABC, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
And the newspaper, which I have copies of, shows the largest demonstration sparked with riots are beginning to start because of the Jan and Dean tour.
Oh, boy.
So when we got to the press conference, and by the way, the director looks all the way across the audience to our entourage and looks right at Crazy John and goes, Crazy, don't say a word. These guys are going to talk.
Uh-huh.
We're going to get through this. We don't know what's happening here. So fast forward history, Guy, and that movement sparked the demonstrations that led up to Tiananmen Square in 1989 with the guy that stood in front of the tank.
Oh, my God. I remember that.
Yep. And he put his hands up in front of like 8 tanks.
Yeah.
And in Newsweek magazine, in that issue, it said the demonstrations were sparked by members of the Jen and Dean duo, which basically said Crazy John fucking started it.
Oh my God. That's crazy. What a great story.
Yeah, from that wanting to learn to play Frisbee to, what an incredible journey, Guy.
Oh my gosh. That's incredible. That's so cool, man. Well, let's talk about going from that to, I'm assuming you went to Patagonia after that.
You're right.
Is that right?
You're right. Yeah. I was actually living on Driftwood Lane with you, and I was just kind of coming off the tour. And when I first was there, we had babies. I was trying to find landscape jobs because that's kind of what my passion was as a little boy.
Yeah.
And then Alicia Carmen, who I mentioned earlier, walked on our street and said, "Hey, Chipper, you should work at Patagonia." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of them. I always wanted to be sponsored by them. They don't sponsor that. They only sponsor environmentalists." So I said, "Yeah, that would be cool." She said, "We'll put together a resume." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Pencil and paper and, ready to write it down. Of course, I put my first name on the resume and my last name. I'm like, okay, now what? I got a phone number. Okay, let's see. Work history. Let's see. I was I know. I'm going to put pro Frisbee player, world champion.
There you go.
And then I'm going to put, I don't know, surfer. And then I love gardening, so I'm going to put gardener. And I actually showed it to a friend of mine who was kind of a good, resume reader. And he goes, "Chipper, this is a complete." He goes, "This will be perfect for Patagonia," because he goes, quote, "I hear they hire dirtbags." And that was a compliment because in my book, a dirtbag was someone that lives at the edge of their passion.
Yeah.
And loves the beauty that they want to be a part of,
Mm-hmm.
They just commit themselves to that. And so I showed up at Patagonia in 93, and I started off there as the receptionist.
Mm-hmm.
And I really chose the job too because they had great childcare program.
Right. I remember that.
So I got to put my kids in childcare, and now Kelly's pregnant with Nathan, and we have to move from Driftwood Lane now, and that's when we finally got to get our place we have now up in Midtown here.
Yep.
And just kept commuting to work every day, and I ended up having just an amazing journey at Patagonia, doing several different jobs, from helping to incorporate organic cotton and doing an organic cotton T-shirt program.
I remember.
Yep, selling blank T-shirts to the world.
Yep.
And learning about screen printing and doing sales, which, I got to travel then again with the company and having fun. And
yeah.
And then they moved the division up to their offices in Reno, Nevada, and we had just bought our house. I was like, oh, shit. So I kind of went back to reception. I was like, oh, I'll be here for a little while. And then I was trying to think, well, what the hell am I going to do in the company now that I could just be here? And Guy, the position of CEO came up. And I applied for it.
Uh-huh.
And in fact, I was the only one that applied for CEO.
Really?
And yeah, it was pretty, well, I mean, I'm so sorry, in-house employees.
Yeah.
They had a lot of outside candidates who were very worthy of the position. But Yvon, the founder of Patagonia, Yvon Chouinard, thought it was a great idea. He actually told me, he goes, Fortune Magazine's going to love this story, from receptionist to CEO.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing 4 days of interviews. Met with HR, I met with production. Chris Tompkins was Chris McDivitt at the time. She was the CEO at the time. Just one of the greatest game changers of our time. And then Yvonne himself took me up to Hollister Ranch, and we went surfing and free diving for the day, and went down and spearfishing and catching lobsters with our bare hands, and just this outdoor amazing adventure with him. And we got back with our catch, which he frickin' outfished me, out speared me, out held his breath, out did everything, and here I at the time was about 38, and he was 68. But he's the man. So we're walking down the beach afterwards, and he's like, so what's a better title than CEO? Oh, no. He goes, owner, founder.
What?
And he goes, yeah. He goes, Chipper, you and all the employees at Patagonia, he goes, I think you guys do the best job in the world. I think you're the best workers. But he said, not one of you inspires me. I said, what do you mean? And he said, I like to hang out with people that like to change the game. For example, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm not an inventor, but I love innovation. And I love it when an employee can come up and say, let's try this.
Yeah.
And begin to change it. He said, quote, even if somebody came and said, let's make ball bearings from now on, and it made good business sense, let's do it. If it sticks to the purpose of the company, the mission, and helps the company to, of course, give back its values to the world. So that set with me really neat. And then the other thing that was neat, when I got back to HR, I said to him, after these 4 days of interviews, especially hanging with the man, I said, I'm not ready. I said, I do want to be there someday, but I believe that every person at that level that leads the company should know every position in the company. I said, they should know about sewing and construction and what the quality does in a shirt. So they should know about supply chain, what's happening there. They should know about marketing and how they come up with concepts and design. Let's talk about how it all works. And so I said, I'd like to do some cross training. And I come back to reception. I said, I'd like to start in production. I want to learn how it all works. And I kind of thinking to myself, I might move into production. So it began to work, and the CFO at the time, Allison May, I sitting in her office, and she said, let's just chart this out. And we called it the Employee Development Program, EDP. And we layered that out in like 1998, and still rides today in 2023 for any employee anywhere in the company to develop themselves as an EDP.
Nice.
Enough. That's kind of leaving a neat legacy.
Yeah.
But what I really caught on to, because I didn't get the job, so I'm back at reception. So I'm pulling out the employee manual one day, and I read it said, you can take 4 months off unpaid.
Yeah.
And there were some other employees that had inspired me to do that. And, how do you do that and stuff? So I was like, let's see. So then I decided, by the way, I needed to get a part-time job because, again, I didn't get the high-paying job. I had to get a second job. And so Kelly, my wife, said to me, why don't you do what you love? Why don't you teach surfing and Frisbee? Start a surfing school or something. So I'm like, all right. So I looked online and I bought the website surfclass.com, and we started this business. And I thought, well, I could work part-time teaching surfing. And so, that employee manual, I'm like, wow, they need me in the summertime. How can I take time off just to go run the business?
Yeah.
So I applied for 4 months off leave. Part of it was paid. So I used vacation time. Well,
Yeah.
Guy, for 14 years in a row, I took 4 months off
So sick.
and ran surfclass.com. And it was so fun. You know, in the early years, I'd just go out there and I'd leave the front desk and go to the beach, and man, hundreds of kids, lots of staff. I mean, I'm running a business. Operations and risk management are just, you know, at the forefront. And so when I found out about the business, the membership or the program called 1% for the Planet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's where businesses can give back 1% of sales to environmental direct action organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And Patagonia was beginning to develop this program with another guy. Kind of oh my gosh.
Is it the guy from
Blue Ridge Fly.
Oh yeah, the guy, the fly fishing outfitter.
Yeah, he's a fly fishing guy.
Yeah.
Dang it. We're going to edit this part out and get his name right.
No worries.
So, anyways, it's all bitching. So Surf Class ended up, long story short, we became the first business of 1% for the Planet. We're the first member. And we give it to Patagonia and Blue Ribbon Flies.
Yes.
To those guys, that they are the founding members. But surfclass.com, innocently, not even trying, we just went out and applied for it, and we happened to be the first member. So for the past 23 years now, Surf Class has been around, and we've had just an amazing journey of how we built our business from day camps of what we wanted to be, you know, how many kids could we get in the summer,
Mm-hmm.
and definitely competing with these other camps, because we started off, there was 2, and as you know, now there's 12,
Yeah.
you know, surf camps around that come and go, and they're seasonal or whatever. And so we prided ourselves in growing that business in kids. And then after a few years, maybe we were about 5 to 6 years in business, and we started taking on corporate outings. And Patagonia became one of our clients.
Nice.
It was so cool. So their sales meeting, you know, they'd hire me to do sales meeting, and they'd bring in 30 people from out of town for surfboard rentals and surf lessons for new hire employees. And this all started early on. And so as the business grew, we started just doing big groups. And I said, Kelly, we can do more money with big groups than we can doing a 5-day camp with, 15 kids. We can get 100 kids.
Yeah.
In 3 hours.
Yep.
And we did it. We developed these programs with these large groups, and one group in particular from Israel. They sign 60, 80, 100 kids up twice a summer, sometimes 3 times a summer. And we manage those kids. We take 10 to 12 kids at a time. We put them in a rotation of learning the process of surfing. Our method's basically every kid stands up and rides.
Yeah.
They got double pumping shaka signs jumping off the board and rotate those through. So we ended up eliminating all of our day camps. We said, we don't have to do that anymore. I was so happy. We've all of a sudden developed this very unique niche corporate and large group market.
Very cool.
And we developed that going in. It was so cool. And all of a sudden, this little tiny thing that the world got a phone call from called COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And all our big groups went away. And everything went away, of course, for that minute.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, when we started getting our resuscitation back, we found that a lot of kids needed to get outdoors.
Oh, yeah.
So we were like, So I just kind of rebranded, and it's called Surf Science and Outdoor Ed.
Oh, nice.
And we presented it to our charter schools, and we signed up 3 charter schools in Ventura County and Kern County.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. And so these kids in, what do they call them, charter schools, homeschool, those types of children, back a year ago or a year and a half, they had needed a place to get out. Oh my gosh, Guy, we were packed.
That's so cool.
Our program just filled up. So good.
So what do? You throw a little science in there and some waves, and you talk about some of the different stuff at the beach and all that, and you incorporate all that stuff into it?
We try to, yeah. We really want our classes to be process driven. And, you know, one of the important thing I think is that one of the takeaways we want people to have are a few key points. And one is we call ocean science. And it's generally basically how to read a surf report. What do the 3 numbers mean in the report?
Cool.
No matter where you go, you're going to see the height, the intervals, and the direction. And when you start to understand that, Guy, as you well know, you're like, wow, there's a 300 rolling. I should probably go to a west-northwest facing beach. Or if there's a 270 lining up, I'm definitely going to a point break. 180
cool.
set up, I'm doing my 180 south. I'm going to get my south-facing breaks. And then number 2 would be our marine biology. We really want people to understand the importance of the connectedness we all have in such a diverse, wild place of kelp and sea life, and how does that connect to the world, and why is the ocean 2/3 water? Is there more trees or more kelp? Is there more stars or more sand grains? And all these fun questions. Why is the white water white? And then the last thing we like to lead people with is environmental direct action. You know, beach cleanups are one thing, but how do you get involved with, let's say, like the Surfrider Foundation and the Blue Water Task Force, and literally go out and help them on a Saturday or a Sunday with official instruments that help measure water quality from our creeks and from our oceans and our beautiful coveted beaches that we love so much. And we all know after raids and pollution and whatnot, we have to be keen on environmental awareness, but more so giving direct action to those problems.
So cool, man. Sounds amazing. I wanted to tell you a story, and you may or may not know this, but you were real instrumental in helping me get started with my fly fishing business. And Yvonne, you know, back in the day when you were, I was telling you, I think we were on the beach or something. I think I was telling you, hey, I'm starting a fly fishing guide service. You know, oh, dude, we've got some, if you need to borrow some waders, we got a closet full of waders you can borrow for your clients and all this stuff, you know. And I'm like, seriously?
Hell yeah.
And I'm like, seriously, dude? And you're all, yeah, dude, come by. And so the next day, I think that next weekend I had a couple of guide trips, you know, and I was playing music and then driving up to the Kern and driving back, you know, or sleeping in the back of my truck, you know, and that's how I was pulling it off. But I came to Patagonia, and you were at the front desk there, you know, doing your thing. And we were talking and stuff, and then in walks Yvonne, the owner of Patagonia. And you're all, hey, Yvonne, this is a guy, he's opening up a guide service on the Kern. And he turns and he's all, hey, how you doing, Guy? He's all, do you know the Kern very well? First question. And I'm like, yeah, I think I do. And he says, well, I'm going to give you some advice. He's all, the best fly fishing guide I know is this dude from Canada. And what he does every year is he snorkels the river every year before he guides, before the guide season, and just sees what the fish are doing and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to do that. So, you know, for years I would get in the river and I would snorkel the river and I'd watch the fish and I'd watch the bugs and the insects, and it made me a better guide. And that was all from his advice. And
that's cool.
Yeah, and I haven't actually got to tell him that. You know, I haven't seen him. I did leave a note for him that he helped me. I don't know if he ever got it, but one of these days I'd like to, tell him that story and how it helped me, create my fly fishing community up on the Kern River. You know, it was really, really inspiring for him to do that for me. So I don't know if you remember that, man, but you really helped me, man. I would come in there, I'd borrow those waders because I didn't have, any money to buy a bunch of waders and stuff, and you'd help me out with all that stuff, man. So thank you, buddy.
That is so cool. You're welcome. And Guy, I do remember, because funny enough, I was excited for hanging out with you this morning, and I was talking to Kelly, and I told her that story word for word that you just said.
Oh, did you? The thing is, go ahead.
No, I think his parting words were, he just was like, get a mask. Okay.
Yeah. But it did, man. It helped me so much. And, the thing about Patagonia too, you were able to start surf class by doing that, and you took me on a tour one time. I think back in the day, Papanata had played there for some parties, and Lion Eyes had played there at parties and stuff. But you took me on a tour of the place one time, and it was just amazing, man. Just everything that goes on at that company. And I mean, what do you think that makes that company work? I mean, is it all the little programs and all the stuff that they have for their employees? I mean, it seems like everybody's really happy there when they're working there.
Yeah. There's go ahead, finish.
Oh, and I mean, I have friends that are still there, and they've been there for 30 years or something, one being
Mike Simpson.
Yeah, Mike Simpson and Robert Bent. Oh my God.
Hell yeah.
Those guys have been rocking it for a long time,
Yeah, 35 plus.
Yeah.
Those guys are.
Yeah, and
they're happy.
Totally, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it's interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Mike plays guitar in my band Stoneflies now. I don't know if you knew that.
Well, I'm just so disappointed. I missed you guys at Tony's the other night. Kelly showed me the Facebook pictures.
Yeah.
I could have just played Harry Carey right then, because I was like, I can't believe I missed it.
Well, we'll be back.
Anyways, I heard, she gave me some other dates in May.
Yeah, exactly.
That we put on the calendar this time, so that's perfect. What are the dates in May?
May 18th, we're back there.
May 18th.
Yeah.
Tony's Pizza, baby. I love
man.
it. Okay,
we're having a blast. Oh my God, we're just older dudes playing some ska reggae stuff, having fun.
I'm so glad, man. You're in your element when you're doing that, and I think fly fishing's your job, and you love it, and it's passionate. But music bleeds through. You become one,
Yeah.
And you built your brand up, by the way,
Yeah.
And I love a question Yvonne's been asked, and I'll ask you: are you more proud now of your business that you've done with fly fishing and developing your brand, or are you more proud of your music?
It's a good question. I mean, I love it all. I love building things from scratch, and a lot of the stuff. I was going to ask you the same question. A lot of this stuff is manifested. We just are living it and breathing it, and then all of a sudden it just kind of happens. And I think that's, living the brand, you just got to live that lifestyle. And I'm proud of the fly fishing, the fly shop and stuff. Thanks for asking the question. And it's, it's definitely, I've met some of my best friends through it. I've met, some really amazing people, and the river's a better place because of it. The little town of Kernville is just so amazing. It's just a beautiful little mountain town with this beautiful river that runs through it, and all these outdoor folks just tearing it up. And I mean that in a good way, river rafting, mountain biking, just fishing, just everything you can think of, rock climbing. It's just an amazing little town. So I'm proud of that. And I'm proud to still be playing music. It's an honor to be able to play music for people and, have people enjoy it. It's such an honor to be able to do that. And people still getting out there skanking, And that's what's fun for me, is just seeing all those folks having a good time, for sure. That's
man.
the best.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, you're an entertainer, so when you see that's what, your people are happy and doing it, then you've accomplished what you wanted to do.
Absolutely. One last thing I wanted to ask you about is that, you've done all these things, and, a Frisbee champion to working at Patagonia to an entrepreneur, and now are you speaking now in front of people and motivating people?
I've had my moments, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of rebranding myself now. Last 3 years, of course, hasn't been the greatest for public speaking.
Yeah.
And so as it's began to resurface, I was like, being very specific of where I wanted to share my stories.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to make sure the audience was the right audiences that would have the takeaways that I want my audience to have, inspired to, like you say, live the brand of where they work, and show people how you could have a work-life balance, and what it means to be a world Frisbee champion, and all the downfalls of trying to accomplish something when you're at your lowest and you have to pull up to make it work, and you hit it. And then, family and entrepreneurship and stuff. So it's kind of a array of where I want to speak now, but
Mm-hmm.
I really have a great talk about, I believe, we've been talking a little bit about my experience at Patagonia and what it means to work for a company that has a mission,
Mm-hmm.
that has core values, and has a purpose. And kind of define in the talk a little bit about what is the difference between a mission statement and a purpose.
Mm.
And how do you create, as you kind of leaned into earlier, a collective consciousness around that with all of your employees?
Mm-hmm.
How do you get everybody to, is it the benefits? Is it, leave work for good? Is it the cafeteria? How do you get your band to all be moving in that same direction
Mm-hmm.
of that purpose? You guys have a mission, and of course, the organization has these core values, and some of Patagonia's were like quality. It had to work and last a lifetime, and integrity.
Mm-hmm.
I love what Yvonne said once was, we should be able to do this on a handshake instead of 17 files of contracts.
Right.
And let's see if we can also not be bound by convention. And I love that, resonated with me back to that freestyle, and right, cool, let's see if we can do business a different way. So it's getting businesses, my talks now about how that aligns.
Mm-hmm.
And then I am writing a book.
Are you?
Ready to, I want it to be finished by this year. And it kind of coincides with Patagonia's 50th. It's my 25 years at Patagonia.
Oh.
And it's storytelling of the most amazing people I've met at that front desk.
Uh-huh.
My journeys at Patagonia that literally took me around the world.
Mm-hmm.
How I became an icon and a brand ambassador, and if I may, left a legacy.
Yeah.
With my personality and who I was and all that. All is in this book, and it's pretty cool. I told Yvonne Chenard that one time. I was writing a book, and at the time I said, "Hey Yvonne, I'm writing a book about Patagonia. I'm going to call it Inside the Mountain: The Truth of Patagonia."
Oh.
And he turned to me really quick and he goes, "You could." The receptionist sometimes knows way too much.
Oh yeah, right. Oh my gosh.
So, and then I want to be like you when I grow up, and I think I'm going to pop out a podcast soon.
Good. You'd be great at it.
I got a list of fun friends on there. I got these crazy ass stories too that needs to be continued.
Absolutely.
So I have you on my list to be on the Chipper Bro show.
I love it. Absolutely. Got tons of stories, that's for sure.
Yeah, we just tipping icebergs here, guys.
Oh my God, that's for sure. One last question I want to ask you. What's it like to write a book? Are you like dedicating like every morning you're writing for an hour or two, just 1,000 words, or how does that play out?
First of all, I have a little bit of OCD, so unfortunately, sometimes I'll be writing and I'll start working on my grammar or working on my punctuations and my spelling. And a friend of mine said, "No, don't do that. Just start writing.
Yeah,
and come back later.
Mm-hmm.
But just you're gonna miss something." So I've been writing a bit lately, and I have a lot of pages now. I have some chapters.
Sweet.
I have a direction where it's going, and I try to dedicate now. I'm a 5 a.m. guy.
Yeah.
I'll do my affirmations in the morning and give alignment with the universe, and then say what I want to do, and then I proceed to do it in getting this book written. So my goal was May to have it in a frame, but not a hardcover yet. And I will have someone help me as well, when we get to that editing part.
Sure.
But I'm really working on words of the day. I'm expanding my vocabulary.
Awesome.
And more than than I have. And then I keep thinking of more stories, so sometimes I'll be able to write it down. I used to try to record it on my phone, come back to it later.
Yeah.
So I'll try to do that or try to write it down. But my surf school has been down lately because of the weather.
Yeah.
So I've been having a lot more time to work on the book.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I know I was supposed to do a surf class, man, or a fly fishing in the surf class. I've been going down there and doing these fly fishing in the surf classes, and the beaches are just hammered.
Right?
Yeah. Unbelievable, man. Yeah.
Hey, that reminds me, we could collaborate at another time to do a corporate retreat, FYI, who's ever listening.
Yeah.
To have a fly fishing with your peeps, surfing with your peeps, a little kayaking. We'll serve some lunch.
Let's do it.
And we'll make it a super fun day.
So great, man. Well, Chipper, I can't believe it. It's already been over an hour or so, but so easy to talk to you. And let's do this again, man. I mean, this is round one. Let's do round two.
I really enjoyed it. And as I said earlier, I'm so happy I'm a dear friend of yours in my heart because I've always been a big fan of yours.
Oh, same here, buddy.
So, really cool, bro. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, man. And hopefully I'll see you on the 18th, huh?
Okay.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks so much for being on my podcast, and hope to see you soon.
Okay. Bye, guys.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye.
It's a Guy Jeans podcast.